Hey guys, we're going to look at the learning card for graphing quadratics in standard form. Okay, so hopefully you have your learning cards out. We're going to start with the equation y is equal to x squared minus 6x plus 8. All right, the first thing that we want to do if we're graphing something that's in standard form is let's find the very middle of this quadratic. So we know, remember, it's going to look like a U. So let's find that middle place that's going to tell us where the graph is cut into two equal parts. That is called our axis of symmetry. So to find that, we're using this awesome little equation, negative b over 2a. So what we want to do is we want to identify, well, our a here is 1. Remember, that's the number in front of our x squared term. Our b value is the number in front of our x term, which is a negative 6. And our c value is the constant at the end, which here is an 8. So that means here where negative b is, we're going to put negative, and then our b value, which is negative 6. And we're going to divide it by 2 times our a value, which is a 1. So your calculator can help you do that. If not, this is going to be a 6 divided by 2, which is 3. So our axis of symmetry is x equals 3. So we can come over here on our graph and find when x is 3. Okay, so that's going to be this vertical line right here. So I'm just going to draw a dotted line because it's not really part of the graph. We're just using it to show us that that's where the middle would be. Okay, that helps me do two things. It helps me know where to look on my table. That's going to be the middle of my table. And it also helps me know the x value of my vertex, because my vertex should fall on that line because it should be right in the middle. Okay, what I want to do is I'm now going to use my calculator to come up with my table for here. So get my calculator, go to table. I'm going to do x squared minus 6x plus 8. Hit enter. It's fine, you can leave it to start at 0 because we're going to move it where we need it. Go to OK. All right, so remember, I know I need that where the 3 is. So when x is 3, my y is a negative 1. I need to do two x values that are smaller than that 3 and two x values that are bigger than that 3. So we need a 2 and a 1 and a 4 and a 5. Okay, so when we look at the values on our y, we got 3, 0, and negative 1. 3, 0, negative 1. And then hopefully you remember that if we have a quadratic, we should see that repeating pattern here. Well, there's the 0 that repeats, and there's the 3. So 0 and 3. Then all we need to do is take these points and plot them on our graph. So when x is 1, y is 3. When x is 2, y is 0. When x is 3, y is negative 1. X is 4, y is 0. X is 5, y is 3. So this is going to give us our nice quadratic. Remember, we need to connect these with a curve. So make sure you do the best you can to make it curvy and not a straight line. Sorry guys, it's hard for me to do a good curve using the tablet. All right, something else that I know I can graph is this 8 here at the end is going to give me my y-intercept, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I know I should go through that point on my y-axis. Sorry, I did not do a good job with that. Okay, so now we're just going to use the information we have. So our vertex should always be right here in the middle. Okay, so when x is 3, y is negative 1. My x-intercepts, hopefully they're easy to see here on the graph or the table. So on our table, we're going to see our x-intercepts are at 2, 0 and at 4, 0. Remember, these are ordered pairs, so please write them as ordered pairs. My y-intercept, it's not shown in my table, but we know from the graph that our y-intercept is always going to be whatever our c value is in standard form. So when x is 0, our y should be 8. All right, and now let's talk about the direction in which it opens. So the question is, does it open up or down? So that just means, is your U going upward or is our U going downward? And in this one, it is opening up, so we'll just say that it opens up. Now, that piece of information right there is going to help us answer the question down here in the corner. Is the vertex a max or a minimum? Okay. Well, remember, our vertex is this point right there. That's our vertex. Okay. So if it's a max, that means it should be a highest point. And if it's a min, it should be a lowest point. Well, since this is a U, a right side up U, that means that's the lowest point. So that means our vertex here is a min or a minimum. Okay. So we're going to use this information to help us do a worksheet. So we can pause it here for a second while you get that worksheet. Okay, now that you guys hopefully have that worksheet, it should look like this. I'm going to do the first two with you, and then you guys need to finish the last two on your own. Okay, so all we're going to do is the exact same thing that we did before. When we have an equation in standard form that's a quadratic, that means that we are going to want to first find where the middle of that graph would be. So we're going to find the axis of symmetry by doing negative and our b value, which here is a -2, right there, over 2 times our a value, which is 1. So this is going to give us a 2 over 2, which is 1. So our axis of symmetry is going to be at x equals 1. That means right down this line right here. So go ahead and draw your little dotted line. This means that's where you should see the symmetry of your quadratic. Then what we want to do is find our vertex. Well, the easiest way to find these is make yourself a little table. So right next to our graph, let's make a little table. We want the middle of our table to be where our axis of symmetry is. We need two numbers smaller, so 0 and -1, and two numbers bigger, 2 and 3. So then we just grab our calculator. We're going to change our equation in the calculator to be x squared minus 2x plus 6. Okay, I'm going to start this one at a -1 since that's at the top of my table. That way I don't have to scroll. And I see that at -1 we get 9, at 0 we get 6, and at 1 we get 5. So 9, 6, and 5. And then hopefully at 2 and 3 we see that repeating pattern. So I'm scrolling. Yep, there's that 6 that repeats, and then the 9. Okay, that helps you know that you do have the right axis of symmetry that's in the middle. Okay, so let's go ahead and plot these. We're going to get at -1, it's a +9, so that's all the way up here. At 0, we have a point at 6. At 1, our point is at 5, right here. Then at 2, 6, and 3, 9. And again, remember we want to make this a nice U. And arrows on the end showing that it's going to continue on. And then we're just going to start filling in our information. So our vertex will always be right there in the middle of our table. Our vertex is at 1, 5. Our y-intercept, this one's easy to see on our graph, but if not, remember it's always our c value. So when x is 0, our y value is 6. This one opens up, definitely, and then our x-intercepts. Well, if we look at this graph, do we ever cross the x-axis? Nope. So if we don't, we can just write none. Okay. If we cross it, then we would write those ordered pairs. Okay. Or we can sometimes solve for them by factoring. All right, let's do the next one. The next one, we have excuse me, I equals -x² minus 4x minus 8. And what we want to do is let's find the middle of our graph. So we're going to do negative and our b value, which is -4, over 2 times our a value, which here is a -1. So be careful. See that negative. So this is going to give us a 4 over a -2, which is going to give us a -2. So our axis of symmetry is x equals, because that's a vertical line, -2. So over here, we can draw that going through the x value of -2. Now remember, before we try to fill in the rest of this, let's graph it and use our calculator to get that table. So we're going to get x values and y values, and we want this axis of symmetry to be right in the middle. Okay? Two numbers smaller than -2 are -3 and -4, and two numbers bigger would be -1 and 0. So I'm going to grab my calculator. Let me slide it over here so I can see things a little better. I'm going to go to the table and clear this out. I got -x squared minus 4x minus 8. And I'm going to start this one at a -4 because that's where my table begins. And I get a -8, -5, and -4. And hopefully on the table, if we scroll down, we're going to see a repeating pattern. There's a -5 and a -8. All right, so let's plot these points. When x is -4, y is -8. When x is -3, y is -5. When x is -2, this should be on our axis of symmetry, y is -4, -1 is a -5, and 0 is a -8. Okay, so we're gonna make this a nice U. This time our U is upside down. Okay, and then let's go through and answer our questions. Remember our vertex, that's this point right here. It should always be right in the middle of our table on our axis of symmetry. So it's going to be at -2, -4. Our y-intercept, remember, that should always be our c value. Well, up here, our c value tells us it's -8. Well, you can double check. That's where you should be crossing the y-axis. So when x is 0, y is -8. This one is not opening up like the last one. This one is opening down. Okay, and our x-intercepts, well, look, we don't cross the x-axis. So this one would be none. All right, so what I want you guys to do now is you are going to stop the video here. You're going to work the next two, so number 3 and number 4. Okay, they're very, very similar. And then unpause this video and the answers will be at the end of this video. So go ahead and pause this now, and I'll see you back in just a few. All right, so here are the two that we did together. Making sure that you still have all that stuff written down. And then here are the last two that you should have done now. Okay. You'll see that on number 4, I did a little diamond here. That's because I wanted to take this trinomial and factor it. This helped me find my x-intercepts. Okay, but you also could have found them and seen them on the table and on the graph. So please make sure that you got these written in, make sure that you understand them, and hope you guys have a good day.